Hey everyone, and welcome to another explainer. So, have you ever felt like you're doing literally everything right? You know, you're saving, you're budgeting, you're being super disciplined, but your financial progress just feels, well, stubbornly slow. Look, you're not alone, and you're definitely not crazy. It's just math. Today, we're unpacking the real trajectory of wealth creation, and we're going to visualize exactly how money builds upon itself. Okay, let's dive into this and uncover the mathematical truth about your first million.
Seriously, why does building wealth feel absolutely impossible sometimes? Well, we have to start by acknowledging a massive psychological hurdle that almost everyone faces when they're first starting out. You see, when we begin our financial journeys, our brains kind of trick us into believing a very specific myth. I call it the myth of linear wealth building. We logically assume that if we put in 1 unit of effort, we're going to get exactly 1 unit of financial growth, right? And we think that this 1-to-1 ratio is just going to remain constant forever. We tell ourselves, man, if it takes me this much effort just to get a little bit ahead, getting far ahead is going to require a superhuman amount of work. And honestly, that false assumption, it creates a mountain of frustration. It makes the finish line look so impossibly distant that a lot of people just want to throw their hands up and give up entirely. But as you're about to see, that linear assumption is completely wrong.
And that brings us to the first phase, the first 100K slog. I want to slow down here for a second because that word, slog, is just incredibly accurate. The data really highlights this initial phase of wealth building as a grueling ascent. This is the period where your money isn't really working for you yet because frankly there just isn't enough of it to generate any meaningful momentum. During this slog, every single dollar of growth is coming directly from your sheer willpower, your active labor, your daily discipline. You are literally carrying the entire weight of your financial future squarely on your own shoulders. It's a steep, difficult climb, and the math totally reflects that struggle.
Now, what's really fascinating about this is the exact precision of the timeline, 7.75 years. That is exactly how long it takes to reach that first major milestone of $100,000, assuming a fairly standard scenario. So starting with a $10,000 balance, making a consistent monthly contribution of $750, and earning an average 8% annual return. Just let that sink in for a second. Nearly 8 years of consistent, unwavering effort. 8 years of putting that $750 away every single month. For the vast majority of that time, it probably feels like you're barely inching forward. This baseline timeline perfectly validates that feeling of total exhaustion we talked about earlier. 7.75 years is a massive chunk of time, and it represents a huge psychological barrier. It is exactly why so many people get discouraged and abandon their goals way before they ever get to see the real magic happen.
But here is where the story changes entirely, bringing us to our core concept for this explainer, the snowball effect. Imagine you spent those 7.75 years physically pushing a really heavy snowball up a steep, long hill. I mean, it required maximum physical exertion just to keep the thing from rolling backward, right? But eventually, you reach the peak. The snowball effect represents the mathematical truth of what happens next. The math shifts from simple addition to exponential multiplication. Your money actually begins to build upon itself. You're no longer just packing snow onto the ball by hand. Gravity and the mountain are doing the work for you as that snowball starts rolling down the other side.
And here is the plot twist. 5. From the exact same data, using those exact same variables, the jump from your first $100,000 to your second, so reaching $200,000, takes only 5 years. Think about the crazy contrast here. You just spent nearly 8 long years scraping together your first 100K. You'd probably expect the next 100K to take another 8 years, wouldn't you? But it doesn't. It only takes 5. And here is absolutely the most profound part of this data. This assumes you are still making that exact same $750 monthly contribution. You're putting in 0 extra effort. You aren't saving more per month. You didn't go out and get a second job. So the totally crucial point here is that your active labor hasn't changed one bit, but your timeline has drastically accelerated. The snowball has crested the hill.
And this brilliantly illustrates the reality of the math actually working in your favor. Look at how the time it takes to reach your goal drops significantly, from almost 8 years all the way down to just 5. Visually, this is the exact opposite of that linear myth we discussed at the beginning of this explainer. You are achieving the exact same monetary result, another $100,000, but it is costing you significantly less of your absolute most valuable asset, which is your time. That grueling ascent, it was actually worth it because you have fundamentally altered the timeline of your financial growth forever.
To really lock this concept in, let's consider the daily reality of your contribution. The amount you're saving and the discipline you're maintaining, it stays exactly the same. It's static. But your growth, that becomes completely exponential. This dynamic reality creates a profound disconnect between how wealth building feels on a daily basis and what the math is actually doing in the background. Your daily effort feels like a flat line, but your results are curving rapidly upwards. You are literally no longer the sole engine of your wealth. Your wealth has become its own engine.
Which leads us to the ultimate, empowering takeaway for today. Each subsequent milestone becomes easier. With that same $750 a month and that same 8% return, the jump from $200K to $300K takes even less time. We're talking perhaps only 3.5 years compared to the 5 it took prior. And the jump to $400K is faster still, clocking in at under 2.5 years. The math dictates that as momentum truly takes over, every single future milestone demands less time and less active energy from you than the one right before it. The snowball gets bigger, it rolls faster, and it picks up way more snow with every single rotation. The exponential nature of wealth means that the longer you stay in the game, the more effortlessly the game comes to you.
So, we've seen the data. The math isn't just some opinion. It is an undeniable exponential truth. Now look, that first phase is undeniably a massive hurdle, and 7.75 years is a really serious commitment. But we now know exactly what lies just over the peak of that hill. So the only question left to ask is, are you ready to start your snowball? I really hope this explainer has shown you that while the beginning of the journey requires immense patience, the momentum waiting for you on the other side is just incredibly powerful. Keep pushing that snowball until the math takes over. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this data today, and, as always, keep learning.